for the hardest-hitting show in talk radio. The true progressive voice since 2012. This is Southpaws.
And welcome to Southpaws on the Pacifica Radio Network. We are the leaders of the revolution. My name is Darren Gibson, and I'm your co-host.
I'm Katy Steele.
And I'm Jack Prince.
Well, we've got quite a few topics to discuss today. We've got 2 Hammer Time winners this week. One of them very disgusting, and we'll get into that. Plus, we've got a bizarre story out of Hazard, Kentucky. So you sit down for this one, folks.
Sit down.
Well, maybe you better not sit down. Oh, boy. Well, folks, before we get started with today's show, a couple of reminders. You can follow us on social media by going to facebook.com/Southpaws Radio Show. You can follow us on Twitter at Southpaws Radio. You can follow us on Tumblr at southpawsradioshow.tumblr.com. You can follow us on YouTube by doing a search for Southpaws Radio. You can become a patron of the show by going to patreon.com/Southpaws Radio. You can listen to the show anytime you like at Spreaker, Stitcher, or Apple Podcasts by doing a search for Southpaws. Once you found our logo, you found us. We send links to our weekly episodes to our Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, and YouTube accounts. You can listen to us on Global Community Radio Channel 1 every Saturday night at 11 Eastern. And you can listen to us on great Pacifica stations, including KCEI in Taos, New Mexico, KZGM in Kabul, Missouri, and KEPJ San Antonio, Texas. Make sure you listen to us on your favorite Pacifica station. This week's quote of the week comes from Carl Sagan. One of the saddest lessons of history is this: if we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge, even to ourselves, that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back. And
how appropriate.
How
the times.
Very appropriate.
I mean, really. We just went through rain from a guy who thought that windmills caused cancer.
I was just going to mention the orange charlatan.
He used a Sharpie, remember, to change the path of a hurricane. Autographed Bibles. Saluted a North Korean general. Right? Said airplanes were in the Revolutionary War. I kid you not. Wanted to nuke hurricanes. And, of course, suggested that bleach would cure COVID. That's just the top 5. Come on. There is no canon anymore. There used to be an accepted canon of truth, right? It's gone. It's gone, and we have no bedrock of facts. Anything floats through your mind, it's as valid as anything else. 21% of Americans cannot read. They can't read the McDonald's menu. That's why you talk.
Yeah, that's very strategic, because if you can't read the McDonald's menu, you can't read a budget, you can't read a receipt, you can't read facts, you can't read science, right?
Yeah.
So if you can't read any of those things, you have no choice but to believe what you're told.
What does Carlin say? It's done on purpose. Don't look for it to change, because the owners of this country don't want people capable of critical thinking. They don't want well-informed, intelligent people capable of critical thinking. It's against their interest.
Gushing at the meeting between President Biden and the Pope, surrounded by the ancient artifacts where you could not read the Bible except if you were a priest. First of all, you couldn't read.
Right.
Secondly, you were not allowed to read. That was all inside information. Yep. And yet we're going there now as what? As a harbinger, as a backdrop for truth? Really, you have the WASP sitting with the demagogue that have ruled the world for centuries.
That's absolutely what's going on. And that's the stark reality that we need to face right now, and what we really, really need everybody with any level of common sense and intelligence to see is that Biden is not the good guy here, and the Pope isn't the good guy here.
No, they represent
they're on
the
the
worst.
same team that are doing all of this. And unfortunately, that makes Donald Trump really confusing for everybody else on earth, because if they're the bad guys, then what is that? And I wish I had an answer. I don't know. That is the part I can't wrap my head around, is that he's not even the worst of them.
My mom is convinced that Trump is Satan. She really
What
is.
does she think of Biden and the Pope then?
She's fine with, well, she was fine with Biden, but now she's kind of starting to go, not really. Biden's
It's like
too old
as
to-
he's chipping away at the budget, and it's literally every single thing he managed to scrape through that election on. He's not trying to get reelected here, right? Everybody sees that, right? And how proud are we going to be of him in 2 years when it's us that has to deal with a crazy level of billions of angry Americans and Donald Trump leading them?
Yeah.
Whose fault is it going to be?
it's,
It's going to be Joe Biden's fault. It's going to be the Democratic Party's fault.
Sure is.
I don't want to hear
Yeah,
about how
that's about it.
stupid the Republicans are while we're sitting back and waiting 2 years to get mad at ourselves.
Yeah. Speaking of education, I want to follow up on something that we talked about 2 weeks ago on this show. Katy, you'd mentioned King Abdullah. We actually talked about him a little bit with the latest set of papers, the Pandora Papers. Here's his education. He went to primary school in the United States, Deerfield, Massachusetts,
Oh, okay.
college at Oxford in England, and then later Georgetown University.
Okay. So Ivy
there you
League.
go.
All right. All the CIA agents are Ivy League, and they're not all American, friends.
That's very true.
Now, the killer wasp that everybody's afraid of. You get these pictures of this.
Oh, the ones
2-inch
that
wasp.
came over from Africa?
Came from
Yeah.
Africa.
Yeah,
right.
I heard,
The
yeah.
bigger wasp than European wasp. But the problem is that
I thought you said what?
they got the wrong picture. It should be Biden. That's the killer wasp. They're white.
Anglo-Saxon
Yeah.
Protestant.
He's a Catholic, only the second in American history, right? Catholic
Yeah,
president,
yeah.
which represents the oldest white power system on the planet,
Yep.
right? Mm-hmm. He's a businessman. Mm-hmm. That's the most deadly wasp.
His middle name's Robinette. I mean, we
Is
should
it really Robinette?
Robinette.
Yes, it is.
Joseph Robinette Biden. My jaw hit the ground, Jack.
Yeah.
Everything yeah.
Yeah. Jack, you were talking about
Stupidity?
education and stupidity. Here's a prime example just down the road from us. Jonathan Oosting writing for Bridge Magazine. This is dated October 28th. By the way, we are recording this show on Friday, October 29th, 2021. Today is the 92nd anniversary of the stock market crash that led to the Great Depression.
With the economic conditions the way they are, I thought that was pretty interesting timing.
Yeah. So Jonathan Oosting has this interesting story out of Lansing. Michigan State Police launched a criminal investigation Thursday after election equipment at the center of a voting tabulator conspiracy theory went missing this week in a rural conservative community. So let's back this up a little bit here. Adams Township Clerk Stephanie Scott, a Republican whose social media has included QAnon memes, therefore cuckoo, had refused to allow a vendor to conduct routine maintenance on a Hart InterCivic Inc. voting machine. Hillsdale County Clerk Marnie Cast, a fellow Republican who the state tasked with running the local election instead of Scott, told Bridge Magazine her office attempted to retrieve the Adams Township equipment earlier this week, but was unable to locate the tablet, which she described as the brains of the machine. Cass said, quote, "I don't know where it's at or if it's been tampered with," end of quote. Scott, the Adams Township clerk, did not immediately respond to requests for comment on Thursday from Bridge Magazine. In a rare move, the Michigan Bureau of Elections earlier this week stripped Scott of her election administration authority, accusing the first-term clerk of refusing to fulfill her legal responsibilities and spreading misinformation about the tabulators used in Hillsdale County. Michigan Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson's office, which oversees the Elections Bureau, declined comment on the missing equipment Thursday morning. A spokesperson for Jocelyn Benson cited a pending criminal investigation but did not provide any additional details or respond to a request for a copy of any recent communications with Scott. Michigan State Police spokesperson Lori Dogovito confirmed Thursday evening that the state police are investigating at the request of the Secretary of State. Cass said she and her staff went to the Adams Township Hall to secure the voting machine Monday at the direction of the Michigan Bureau of Elections Director Jonathan Brader, who had written Scott that day instructing her to refrain from any election administration activity. County officials collected the tabulator case, but when they unlocked it the next day in their offices at the Hillsdale County Courthouse, Cass told Bridge Magazine, quote, the tablet was missing, end of quote. Scott told Bridge Magazine Tuesday she was concerned about the accuracy of the tabulator and feared maintenance or servicing could wipe out old data, echoing unfounded claims that voting machines may have been rigged against Donald Trump in 2020. She accused the state of tyranny for stripping her election authority. Let me just remind everybody, Michigan uses paper ballots that are then scanned into the system. Those paper ballots have to be kept on hand 22 months after the election. She has every right to go through them. You have every right, as a Michigander, to file a Freedom of Information Act request, and you can go through every single ballot.
Well, here's my thing. I've been saying this since. What is a county for? Why do we have counties? Why? We have cities. We have states. Mm-hmm. We have countries. Why do we have counties? I'm going to tell you why. It's so that these stupid, rich oligarchs can climb into our local politics, put their grimy little fingers in, and steal all of our money and manipulate our votes. Mm-hmm. If they have their own little agency where they operate amongst themselves, it's complete autonomy to do as they want. Mm-hmm. And they have authority over themselves. And if they need to buy one person from the state, they can go do that. But they basically have authority over the cities, which is the only place where residents have a voice. So I just think that if we want to actually get ethical elections that we can trust, what we need to do is localize them.
Yeah, in China for years, they had a different name for it, but they were a little power.
Which we do have localized elections. Each election is operated by either the township clerk or if it's the city clerk.
But then they get it all over to the county.
Then they report to the county reports to the state.
After they manipulate it. That's what I believe.
Yeah.
Scott told Bridge Magazine earlier this week, quote, the county clerk's office and now Secretary of State are demanding I drop off my machine for unfettered access, and God only knows doing what to it. When you have the fox guarding the hen house, somebody's got to stand up and guard those hens, end of quote. Well,
we've got a whole hen house full of foxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do.
But again, cuckoo, cuckoo.
I don't know.
The state recently warned Scott of potential consequences, quote, should you continue to fail to perform your statutory duties, end of quote, and asked her to correct false statements. I've got a feeling if she continues on with the tabulator company, they're going to sue her, like they've done to Rudy Giuliani and everybody else who's lied about the election.
Sue her.
Yep. Sue her. Oh,
what did they have a guy that
if you sue somebody that works for a freaking public agency, they're not suing them, they're suing us. But that's just nobody cares. They just want revenge.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I've said it on this show for a number of years. When municipalities have to start doling out big money for things that they've done wrong, or they get their insurance canceled, it still doesn't matter. That's when the people, if the people actually had a voice, would stand up and say, no, you're not going to do this any longer.
If the people could actually read, they might know what happened first.
Yeah.
Which brings us back to the opening salvo.
Exactly. Exactly. Scott's personal Facebook page includes memes in support of QAnon, which means she's a Looney Tune touched in the head. Please pass the ketchup. I think I'll go to bed. Oh, and by the way, that's a throwback to an old Daffy Duck cartoon.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's hard with the county because they're on both sides. No. It's hard to label these county people anymore.
When you've got the county Republican clerk saying she's wrong, that's all that says to me. She also
are we sure she's Republican though? That's the thing.
No, she's a cuckoo. She's a cuckoo. She's a Trump supporter. She's drank the Kool-Aid. Well, flavor aid actually, but anyway. We have our own Looney Tunes running things down. Hillsdale County, is it a surprise,
what
Jack?
a mecca of idiots.
Is it a surprise?
They just came out with their own curriculum to counteract the CRT.
Is this the Hillsdale Church?
College.
That is where Hillsdale College is?
Yeah, which I think is the most conservative university, even worse than Brigham Young, all those places.
Oh, they're god-awful.
Yeah.
I did not realize it was in Michigan. I saw a van from there recently. And
we've covered Hillsdale here years ago, pointing out
heard
that
so much about it. I was thinking it was in, like, Mississippi.
and Paul Harvey used to advertise the Hillsdale County or the Hillsdale College. Don't they issue a newsletter?
But what Hillsdale will not tell you,
or something
this is the show for facts, right? This is where you get them. Hillsdale College is citadel of conservatism, family values. Do you know what happened there?
I'm sorry.
The father, the president of the university, this is 12 years ago approximately, had sex with his son's wife.
Yeah, we covered
that.
Blew up,
God,
and nobody knows this.
Freaking worse than that.
Yeah.
It just doesn't get worse than that.
Then one of them committed suicide.
Oh.
And the college hid this all over, yet they pretend that they are the bastion of morals and proper.
And to top her on the cake here, on Hillsdale, Michigan, is that it's the largest city and county seat in the county, in the U.S. state of Michigan.
The way you dropped your phone that quick, Katy, if you need some hand sanitizer, I got it right here.
I do. It's not okay.
Oh.
No, Hannity and all these guys, they send money there. They love the place.
God. Can we talk a little bit right now? You had to mention Hannity. Can we mention old Tucker? The name I'd rather use for him.
Would it be a show if we didn't?
He
never misses a show.
Yeah. So he apparently has issued a trailer for a new documentary that he's putting out called Patriot Purge, propagandizing January 6th. You know what I call the Patriot Purge? That's when I have to hit the bathroom after I eat Taco Bell.
That kind of
look at all the little patriots floating in the bowl. Look at them all. We got to send them on their way. Bye-bye, Patriots. Bye-bye. Oh.
Patriots.
This is pretty bad when Geraldo Rivera is criticizing Tucker Carlson about this. Gretchen Carlson is criticizing. I'll just read what Gretchen Carlson posted on Twitter. Quote, Tucker Carlson's new 3-part series, Patriot Purge, claims the January 6th riot was a false flag and that liberals are waging some kind of insidious domestic war against the right wing. I wish I could say I'm surprised Fox News is enabling this bat craziness. End of quote. She ain't wrong. And this is somebody who was one of the top stars of that network up until Roger Ailes' sexual proclivities of harassing young Fox employees came to light, which, by the way, I hope Mr. Ailes is roasting in a spit in the lake of fire in hell. It'd be nice if I actually believed that.
Yeah, I think the Republican Party uses a dictionary of 4 or 5 words. Of course, the Go Brandon term right now.
Yeah.
Right? But the patriot thing has been around for a long time. That's got to be their number one
Liberty,
usage.
Patriot. They're if you look at the business names now that are being set up by the right-wing Republicans. Yeah, look at Mission Barbecue. There is Liberty Tattoos. There is Patriot Arms. There's all these different, they're going back to the late 19th century, and that was when income inequality was the worst, when children were, paying to board every night, having to work by themselves and live away from their parents, where women were living in boarding houses like, the Macaron place down there on Diamond and Cherry. Have you ever seen how it's like 3 stories, and if you see the back, there's all the different staircases and the different doors? That was a female boarding house. That's where you'd go get a prostitute. That way you could go walk out the back door so that the townspeople didn't see you leaving at night. And that's how...
In conservative Grand Rapids?
Oh, yeah. That was halfway between EGR and downtown. So it was a great spot for businessmen on their way home.
Yeah, a brothel. Yeah.
Oh, they were all over Grand Rapids. Look up a story called A Magdalene's Life. It was written by a local prostitute. Her name is Georgie Young. She ended up growing up, opening a home for wayward girls here in Grand Rapids, and got to be good friends with the police officers, which is how she ended up becoming a actual figure in history instead of Well, technically, she saved him with Christ. Yeah.
Speaking of Christ, and speaking of the word patriotic, here's a sign that was on a neighbor's front door. Attention, satanic socialist. This is the home of a patriotic Christian family. We work hard, we pay our taxes. We do not celebrate Satan's holiday. We do not give away free candy to you lazy, entitled libs. No handouts. Welcome to America. If you want candy, get a job and find Jesus.
Jesus hands out candy just before he sends the priest to molest you.
Oh, brother. Oh.
Get in the van, kid.
Sorry, I'll clean it up
I
later.
tried to find Jesus once. All I found was some guy shooting up God's kitchen.
Now, what happens, though?
That's a real story.
What?
Youth group, high school, division, South Division.
Oh, my God.
Yeah, went to feed the homeless on Thanksgiving, and some guy literally shot the place up while we were there. I dove in a closet.
Oh, God.
And a security guard actually tackled him and de-armed him, an unarmed security guard. So any arguments for more cops, I'm against it.
Wait a minute. Was the guy that did the shooting, was he white?
No, he was a homeless black man, but the security guard that took him out was a black man as well. And he did it without anybody getting hurt.
No wonder he survived.
Exactly.
If
well,
it was a white security guard.
Well, keep in mind, this was like 20 years ago, and it was a real security guard, not like these military level security guards we got now.
Well, you should have been tipped off right away. Jesus wasn't black. You know you had the wrong guy.
Well, I had a gay pastor who was convinced he wasn't gay, so that was very interesting.
God.
A pastor that thought Jesus wasn't gay?
No, he thought himself was. He didn't realize he was gay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and well, at least he didn't want anybody else to realize that he realized he was gay, but it was a pretty well-known fact.
No. Before we get off of Fox Propaganda Channel, did you hear about basically what they did recently? I've got this story. This is Colby Hall writing an opinion piece for Mediaite. This is dated October 21st. Fox host Lawrence Jones reported from a Leesburg, Virginia diner Thursday morning and broke major news when he came across a student who revealed live on camera that he felt attacked by woke teachers who showed him degrading videos. At issue is an ongoing battle over school curriculum amidst a tightening Virginia gubernatorial race between Terry McAuliffe and Glenn Youngkin. The issue of critical race theory being taught in schools has led to passionate school board protests and even threats of violence that have led to Attorney General Merrick Garland to intervene with a directive toward parents who may cross over their First Amendment rights into violent behavior threats.
Wait, hold on. Parents who may cross over their First Amendment rights into violent behavior or threats.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. That right there is painting parents as the dangerous ones. That sentence right there. That's scary.
Considering some of the videos I've seen of some of these meetings over masks, sorry, that speech is not protected, and that's been ruled on for the last 245 years this country has been around.
So arrest them. Like, why aren't they just arresting them? Why is this becoming a bigger...
Because the cops are on whose side?
Right, but ultimately, so is the media. And so here's what we're doing. We're helping contribute to this narrative where the parents are the dangerous ones, and we have to protect the public officials from the parents. And every narrative I'm hearing now is about how we have to protect these public officials, They're supposed to protect us. None of them are doing it. Why are we helping? Why are we helping to protect them? I'm not scared about my kids' friends' parents. I am not scared of them. I'm not scared of the people who live next door to me, even if they're mad about the masks. I am scared of these people who have power over my kids, people who have money, and people who have weapons. We need to worry about them. That's where I'm at with all of this. I'm so tired of people demonizing parents who are scared. All of them are scared for one reason or another, whether we agree or not. They're scared.
Let me continue.
Okay.
In what is a remarkable coincidence, the student in question in this video piece, William Schultz, happens to be the son of Elizabeth Schultz, who is a former school board member in Fairfax County, a GOP activist, and has appeared on Fox Propaganda Channel before to explain an op-ed she wrote complaining about critical race theory being taught in schools. So basically, Fox Propaganda Channel set this up.
Of course they did.
Propagandize their...
Exactly. Yeah.
You know, and I'll say it, the Federal Communications Commission has fined TV stations for far less than this.
Come on.
Shut them down. Shut them down.
That's the problem with all of our media being involved in the same hedge funds.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem. Their agenda is the same. You can't mess with one without messing with the other. And so they're not going to hurt their own pocketbooks. It's never going to happen.
Unfortunately,
it's our
correct.
job. It's our job to see through this and see for what it is. Like you just said, it was a setup by Fox. Who set it up? Who set it up? Because Fox is in bed with CNN and MSNBC.
Well, let me just tell you, as somebody who has worked in the television industry for 2.5 years, let me tell you who has set this up. Some producer or somebody higher up inside the newsroom, probably with the blessing of somebody that's not part of the newsroom who is in upper management.
And if that weren't true, newsroom person would be dead.
Yeah. Or would be fired.
Yes.
Yeah.
Fairfax County in Virginia.
Fairfax County.
And that's the other. It's Virginia.
That's where my granddaughter is waking up this morning in her new move. In Fairfax County. Yeah.
Nice. I've never been to Virginia. All I know is there's a lot of military there.
Yeah. The East is liberal and the West is nutty conservative.
That's where they started the opioid.
Yeah, and the Civil War.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And speaking of media, let's get into ransomware attacks. There's two major ones that we need to talk about this week. The first one has not really been publicized a whole lot. This is Michelle Chapman and Alan Sutterman writing for the Associated Press dated October 18th. Sinclair Broadcast Group, which they say that operates dozens of TV stations, try about 200 television stations they either own or they operate on behalf of somebody else, more than likely a satellite company of theirs, to get around ownership limits. I've got a lot of beef about Sinclair. But anyway, Sinclair said that some of its servers and workstations were encrypted with ransomware and that data was stolen from its network. The company said it started investigating over the weekend a couple of weeks ago. It found that some of its office and operational networks were disrupted. The broadcast group did not immediately say how many TV stations were directly affected, which I can tell you one of them was WWMT, because a friend of mine one day was watching Kelly Clarkson. Next thing you know, it switched over to Ellen DeGeneres, which was being broadcast out of a Sinclair TV station in North Carolina.
So somebody stole from...
They messed with the computer. They put ransomware in to monkey with their computers and locked them and said, oh, well, we'll give you the code to unlock everything if you pay us money.
Okay.
The Hunt Valley, Maryland-based company either owns or operates 21 regional sports networks and owns, operates, or provides services to over 185 television stations in 86 markets. So, yes, they bought the regional networks from Fox. Fox got out of the regional sports business and put those all up for sale. Sinclair
that's why
bought them
they
all.
renamed Fox Sports to Valley Sports. Okay,
yep, there you go.
Got it. My son brought this up to me a couple weeks ago. He said, Mom, I don't know why, but I just feel like this is something I need to tell you. He said, you know, they're not calling this Fox Sports anymore. It's now called Valley Sports. Mm-hmm. It was like the coolest thing my kid ever said, because I was like, oh, you're following the money. I was like, good job.
It's unlocking real truth.
Yeah.
In Toledo, Ohio, WNWO appeared to be off the air Monday afternoon. The station posted on Facebook, quote, our operations are currently limited. We will provide further updates as they become available, end of quote. On WJLA, a Sinclair-owned ABC affiliate in Washington, anchors opened their 4 p.m. newscast by telling viewers the station was under cyber attack and its computers and video servers were down. Nashville, Tennessee's WZTV put out a notice on its website Monday about serious technical issues at the TV station affecting its ability to stream content. They said in the statement, quote, we are also currently unable to access our email and your phone calls to the station, end of quote. Sinclair said it's taken measures to contain the breach and that its investigation is ongoing. However, it said that the data breach has caused and may continue to cause disruption to parts of its business, including aspects of local advertisements by local broadcast stations. The company said it is working to restore operations. Sinclair said it can't determine whether or not the data breach will have a material impact on its business, operations, or financial results. And, of course, they then go into Associated Press does previous ransomware attacks on Colonial Pipeline and other companies across the country. Cox Media Group, which owns a ton of radio stations, was hit with a ransomware attack earlier this year. I didn't know this. Weather Channel got knocked off the air in 2019 due to a ransomware attack.
So does anybody else concerned about, how do the movie theaters work with the signals and the radio stations? Because I know a lot of radio stations are in the movie theaters, and China owns AMC. Is anybody else concerned that they're just handing these over? Because I got a lot of knowledge that tells me they do a lot of things together. So
I can answer that question for you. Having been the former person in charge of a Pacifica radio station that used to operate in Grand Rapids and was privately owned by someone who used to be the 11th largest movie theater chain in the U.S. until he had to file bankruptcy, the servers were stored in the building where we broadcast out of.
I remember.
And under lock and key. So each movie theater had its own server that took care of you name it. I'm sure some of it was probably streaming the movies, but a lot of it was also the financial transactions. You buy your ticket, you buy your snacks, all of that, because I know that the IT department was having fits the year that I took over the radio station because their credit card provider had changed the hardware, and the hardware wouldn't talk to the software and vice versa.
Because they were setting up more secure systems, and so they had to replace everything.
I think it was because of the chip cards, because that was about the time that the credit cards started putting RFID chips in.
RFID chips.
Yeah. So they needed to convert all the hardware over so that the machines could read those chips.
Right.
So I know Darren Pitcher, who, by the way, was a former guest on this show at one point, was just pulling his hair out. It took him a few weeks, and they finally figured it out. Because Darren Pitcher and Scott Winters and those guys in IT were just smart as hell. But even them, it took them a little bit to get it figured out.
Yeah, this is really interesting to me, because if China, there's only one person who has jurisdiction over space right now, or one agency, I'll say. You've told me this, Darren. Yeah. Or maybe I told you this, but
you told me
it's
this.
The FCC. The only one.
Which surprises me, because I figured it'd be NASA.
Right. But NASA's just an American space organization, right?
FCC is only an American organization, yeah.
So there is no jurisdiction globally yet, or in space, except for in America, the FCC, which handles our radio stations and our satellites.
Right.
So if somebody were to hack into our radio stations or our satellites, it's everything. It's everything. It's our internet. It's our electricity. It's everything, right?
Well, those are under separate servers.
Are they?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. I want to believe that, but everything is changing. So I'm watching the infrastructure change so quickly.
Yeah.
And install different things.
I'll tell you what. I'll give you a little peek behind the curtain at the radio station. The signal that we sent to the Allegan FM transmitter in Clyde Township was done over the internet. When we sent out the signal to 1680 and to 95.3, that was done over ISDN telephone lines, because we got knocked off the air once because they were going through. I got to tell you this funny story here. They were going through and they were auditing the phone numbers at the parent company, and they got these two phone numbers and they didn't know what they belonged to. And so they said, well, we don't need them anymore, and told the phone company to shut it off. Next thing you know, the station's off the air. And it took a few weeks to get the phone company to reinstall the phone number.
All I know is I was riding along my little Mazda pickup truck this week, and the story was coming from NPR about the new framework, the framework that Biden is sure.
You drove near water and you couldn't hear anything. The radio doesn't work when you're anywhere near water.
All of a sudden, I have a conservative.
Oh, yeah, you get 50 channels at once. You must have been over by Wealthy.
Texas.
Yep.
Conservative Texas radio station. It's clear as a bell.
You got it from Texas?
From Texas. Listen to NPR.
What time
Oh
of
my gosh.
what time of day was this?
Yeah, what time and where
About
were
1
you?
o'clock, and then about
In the
30
afternoon.
seconds later, the NPR guy gets in. We're having some technical difficulties, and you hear for about 10 seconds, and then back to Texas to two conservatives on NPR.
Oh my gosh, that is absolutely what Darren is.
That could very well
referring
be
to.
sunspots, because sunspots monkey with radio waves like you wouldn't believe.
I know if you drive anywhere near water listening to local stations right now, and you're going to see the towers, all the Wi-Fi stuff that's set up, anywhere near water where the surveillance or whatever it is that they're doing to protect their infrastructure, you can't hear the radio. It either gives you a million feeds at once or you get all static. But it's very obvious to me that they are definitely adding new signals. And if you look up what's going on in China, which we've discussed a lot, the re-education centers and the camps, they have scaled it back a lot and taken down those towers. So what you see out here in Grand Rapids, you're not even going to see in China anymore.
Well, I know the FCC has been reassigning certain frequencies, like frequencies that used to be set aside for UHF television now been repacked, and they're being auctioned off to like the cellular service companies.
Yeah, and cellular service, there's a million new of those going up.
Yeah.
But that's my point, is you can go on the websites, where you can read, like, they'll look at the maps where the signals are. I'm sure you've seen them. There's so many more than there have ever been, and there's like a million more every day. It's nuts.
Yeah.
The control right now. We talked about, last week, the control that we see from Facebook that's being uncovered, right? Mm-hmm. And now we're looking at some careless control. I mean, do you remember the movie where Jim Carrey, he's in this bubble called the
Bubble Man or something?
No, not Bubble
that was
Boy.
Bubble Boy.
It was the perfect environment, but he's going down the street, and suddenly he's on the corner of 4th and 6, and then what the hell was that? And he realizes he's on the corner of 4th and 6. You don't. I can't think of the name.
Is it Bruce Almighty, where he's God?
No, he tries to get away. He doesn't even know he's in a bubble, and a sailboat.
Oh, wait a minute! The Truman Story.
The Truman Story. The Truman Story. Pretty soon, the communications began to break down. That's what tipped him off. That he was totally completely.
The Truman Show. He was born, and then they basically played his life on television. It was just a humongous TV set.
Yeah.
That he was a part of. His neighbors, they were cast members.
Oh wow!
And
Okay.
it was the
I'll find
it was the highest rated show on the planet.
Yep.
Oh wow! Yeah, I'll
And he
check it.
suddenly realizes every single human being in his life is an actor.
Yeah.
With performing just
A spotlight would fall out of the sky and hit the pavement, and he'd look, and they would cut the signal away real quick.
Oh wow!
Clean it up, and then bam, back to the show.
I have had some serious. That's so relative to me right now. It's been such a surreal week.
Yeah, you can get it. Well, they don't have any video rentals anymore, but if they had,
right? I'll find it before.
Yeah, it's got to be on like Netflix or Hulu or.
And they terrified him with the water, so he wouldn't escape.
Yeah,
Oh,
they would churn up the water, and thunder, lightning,
Right?
heavy rain,
But
waves.
one woman, he meets a woman in the library. She says, "I have a secret to tell you."
Yeah, she was a cast member that I believe had fallen for him or something.
Yeah, and he fell in love with her instantly. So he kept drawing pictures of her eyes, and then he'd go get magazines and cut the magazines until he got the picture of her. He runs into her again, so she goes, "Follow me." They run to the beach. She said, "They'll be here in 2 seconds. They'll be here real quickly. But this is all staged. You're part of a play." He's what? And immediately 2 cars come down the beach. "Oh, never mind her. She's had trouble since she went on this new medication."
Yeah.
They whisk
That
her
is
off.
so real.
Yeah,
Like
and
that
fire,
is
and
so
fire,
reality right
and
now.
fire her from the show and kick her
Yeah.
off the
Yeah,
set.
and then
that show.
it's like gaslighting everything all the time. You know, gosh, I can't wait to see it now.
Yeah.
Get that and the book Holy Blood, Holy Grail.
Yes,
Your
those
weekend
are
is-
my.
What was
He
his
was
signature
on there.
line? He would say, "Good morning," and if I don't see you, good afternoon and good night,
Yeah,
or
right.
something like that.
Saying his wife, who in college, in high school, all the way back, she was an actress to be his wife. He realized, wait a minute. And you wonder, it translates into our
Everything
experience.
feels so backwards for me, and that's exactly every time
it
you
will
explain it. That's exactly how it's.
It will scare you.
It's a great movie. You gotta watch it.
One of the best ever.
Yeah. The other ransomware attack that I want to talk about, this is the Associated Press writing out of Richmond, Virginia, dated October 28th. A ransomware gang believed to operate out of Russia says it hacked the National Rifle Association, the most powerful gun rights group in the U.S. The gang, which calls itself Grief, published a handful of what appear to be the NRA files on a dark website. The files reviewed by the Associated Press relate to grants the NRA has awarded. Ransomware gangs often post a victim's files publicly in hopes of spurring them to pay out a ransom. So, yeah, the NRA has been hit with ransomware attacks too.
Can I just give you a quote that I heard this week that I really thought was amazing? It was from one of the Dominican sisters in 2012.
Yeah.
It was after one of the mass shootings, school shootings. She said, if you were to get a hold of my cell phone right now, you couldn't use it. If you were to get a hold of my cell phone right now, you couldn't use it. It's got a passcode on it. That's what she was saying, basically. Yep. You can't get into it. Yep. It's locked. You're not going to get into it and use it. But if you were to get a hold of my gun, you could.
Yep.
You could just go shoot anybody.
That's a good comparison.
We put so much effort into making sure nobody can get our money. Yep. But do we make sure they can't,
No. And that's
freedom.
That's
gun's freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the proof is all you got to see is look at how many accidental shootings happen in this country every single year. Mm-hmm. I'm not even talking about the stuff that people do on purpose.
That's exactly it. Like I'm a proponent of doctor-assisted suicide. I totally believe that should be a legal thing. I don't believe guns should be readily available.
Mm-hmm.
That's the number one form and method for suicide.
Yeah.
Speaking of this show being way ahead of its time, we've highlighted a guy named Ed Pinkney. And Ed Pinkney was on TV last week leading the only pushback against the rotten water in Benton Harbor.
Seriously?
Yes.
Nice.
And I believe he was just on one of the Pacifica shows, and I forget which one he was just on. Speaking of, I usually don't plug other Pacifica shows on this show, but I will this time. If you have the Laura Flanders show on your local Pacifica station, please listen to it this week. It is a historic intergenerational meeting of the minds. Laura Flanders brings together New York Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and MIT Professor Emeritus Noam Chomsky. First time together ever, and they talked for a while, so I haven't had a chance to listen to it yet, but please, if you get the Laura Flanders show in your area, please check it out.
But just, 2 weeks ago, we're talking about Ed Pinkney and the protest down there because they came to take away the land with the emergency. It was last week. Emergency managers. You were talking about the emergency managers, and they're the ones that stole the lakefront property, and Ed Pinkney pushed back. Yep. So I'm sitting watching television just 2 days later, and there's Ed Pinkney. This show is prescient. We were way ahead of the curve when we talked about the Native American schools / concentration camps years ago. And now it's ubiquitous. Everybody's aware of it.
Mm-hmm.
And they're making a big deal out of it. Like the museums are starting to talk about the schools. They've got a whole display even down at Grand Rapids Public. I'm seeing all kinds of people do specials about it.
First you embrace it, then you water it down.
Right. And that's what they're doing right now. It's so obvious to me. They're not discussing the fact that these buildings are being preserved and white people are living in them as homes now. The same schoolhouses.
Is there a certain irony behind the word whitewash? Or was it done on purpose?
Everything connected to white is positive. Everything connected to black is dirty and bad.
Mysterious, evil. Halloween is black.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
marriages are white.
Yeah.
Right? Good things are all white.
Yeah. Yeah.
But pure,
Going back to your question, though, you're about to – what do you see with the word whitewashed?
Just the irony of it.
Well, the thing is that –
or was it on purpose?
Well, but whitewash means you take all the pertinent facts like history, right, and you cover over them. With what? With whiteness. Which is kind of what the hell's going on right now, isn't it? I mean, exactly what's going on.
Yeah.
That's all that ever happens.
You have a curriculum coming out of Hillsdale that completely contradicts anything negative that would cause a child to be uncomfortable with great-granddaddy's racism. You whitewash it.
It's true.
Speaking of gun violence, you guys, they've been talking about it on the media for the last week or so. The shooting on the set of the Western movie where
Rush.
Alec Baldwin has...
where Alec Baldwin murdered somebody, okay?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
We're just going to say it. Purposely or not purposely, he murdered that person. He pointed a gun at him. He shot it, and they died, okay? It was a show he was producing. He was absolutely responsible for every single thing that happened on that set.
They're having trouble finding a scapegoat, though. They really don't know.
Well,
they're using the media to do it. Every headline has him painted as innocent.
Yeah.
Right now, they're narrowing in on the assistant director, who was the person that handed the gun to Alec Baldwin and called out cold gun.
But I also...
Which is supposed to be the armor's job.
Yeah,
Yep,
but I saw...
and
Did
the
you see the
armorer.
armor?
She's like 17.
24.
And she
24.
literally was in a car accident, or her boyfriend killed somebody, or was killed, driving her bike just recently. And she had to pay a settlement for it. So now they put that in the head. They're making her out to be this horrible 17-year-old bad girl.
24-year-old.
Well, okay, 24-year-old
Looks like
bad
17.
girl. Same thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like, how is this guy getting off as the victim? How is everybody feeling sorry for him and scapegoating this young girl?
Well,
He's a millionaire.
Well, let me tell you who's not feeling sorry for him, but in order to do that, we need to play the appropriate music.
Stop! Hammer time!
Oh yeah, it's hammer time. It is time to drop the hammer on the douchebag of the week, and we've got two of them for you this week. So anytime we've got two, Wade Garrett's going to have to chime in.
The double douche. Who is that guy? Gentlemen, Wade Garrett. Holy sh**. Exactly right.
Wade Garrett serves up douchebag number one. Winner of the week is Donald Trump Jr. I've got this story. This is Sinead Baker writing for Business Insider, dated October 25th. Donald Trump Jr. is selling T-shirts that say guns don't kill people, Alec Baldwin kills people, after Baldwin fired a prop gun on a movie set and killed the cinematographer. Baldwin fired the prop gun on the set of Rust last Thursday after reportedly being told it was not loaded. The cinematographer, Helena Hutchins, died. By the way, we didn't mention this. They found round after round, like 500 rounds of live ammo on the set.
She was killed with a live round in a prop gun.
Why is live ammo on a set?
They were using it for target practice in between shoots. They were out back using these supposed prop gun. I'm sorry, when it's a real gun that shoots a real bullet. I'm calling it a gun because it is. It's a murder weapon. Okay. Mm-hmm. They were using the murder weapons to play with them in between sets. And then somebody handed Alec a murder weapon who didn't check said murder weapon before he shot her.
Yeah.
And nobody got arrested because they're so investigating. They're very busy investigating.
Yeah. Trump Jr. is selling the shirts on his website in 3 different colors, black, blue, and military green for $27.99 a piece. Yeah.
Here's all I'm going to say is when they get to the end of their agenda and their military has people from the left and people from the right, and they're coming to collect us from the left and coming from the right, we're going to feel really stupid for being so mad at the Republicans and wonder why we didn't get way more mad at the rich people.
Well, then this goes into number 2 this week. Winner is Bill Maher.
I didn't hear this one.
I'll just say it. I've hated Bill Maher for several years. He is a limousine liberal. He doesn't give a shit about you because he's rich and he's trying to protect his money and his property.
Those are the only ones left that call themselves liberal anymore. Mm-hmm. That's what that means now.
I have this story. This is Tommy Christopher writing for Mediaite. This is dated October 23rd. Comic and TV host Bill Maher warned liberals against wishing conservatives dead, saying that the other side has, quote, way more guns than they know how to use them, end of quote.
That's so true. No, this is literally, I wake up every day thinking this. What are we doing?
My response to Bill is, around and find out, buddy.
That is just not how I want things to go down, though, Darren. I'm thinking, I'm trying to avoid the Civil War.
Here's the thing. I predicted, when I first started the show, I predicted Civil War was coming.
We've all seen it coming. My point is we need to stop it.
Yeah, but
not celebrate.
We're like the Apache sitting around saying, hey, I told my squaw
Those white
that
dudes
there
are
could
coming.
be, let them come, by God. I just got my
Yeah,
tomahawk
yeah.
sharpened. They got all the weapons.
I got a picture of his squaw. She lived with the white family that adopted my mom. I couldn't figure out why we had some Indian lady in the family pictures. That's a true story.
They dare call it wars, the Indian Wars. Can you believe that?
Oh, I know. The
Indian Wars.
all of it
There
was
were heroes.
Indian Wars.
There were heroes from the Indian Wars.
I know.
People promoted because of the victories in the Indian Wars. Sticks against machine guns.
Yes.
Indian Wars.
Yes. These savages were very skilled. You know,
What-
that's the great part, is reading about how much smarter they know they are in war, but then throwing all of their intelligence when it comes to agriculture or the planet right out the window like they're idiots.
So how does Hollywood paint the Native Americans? Oh, they scalped everybody. You want to know what the real history is, folks? The real history is that white people were the ones doing
The scalping.
scalping.
Oh, yeah.
There you go.
Well, the real problem with Indian is that he couldn't handle his fire water.
Yeah, with the fire water that Louis Campo would bring 40 barrels of
course.
to the Indian payday or the Native American payments, and then he would, as soon as they got there, get them all faced
Hollywood.
and then take their money.
In Hollywood, they kidnapped a white wagon train and went right straight for the wagon with the fire water. And then they were crazy for weeks.
For weeks, yeah, and that was the thing. When the savages got near the fire water, you couldn't even go over there. It was just, you know. I mean, they were stronger than us and smarter than us, so if they were drunk, you really don't want to mess with them.
I mean, and again, the Catholic Church. You know, really, the point of the spear against the Native Americans in this country were the religions. The Catholic Church landed down into the sand,
set up their
stuck
missions.
across.
4 of them, sometimes 4 people. Would
and
make
said,
a city.
We declare this now God's country.
And this is the law. And they would just kill people or go get their armies to come in and take them out.
So let me ask you this question regarding Mr. Maher's comments. You think he said it because he wants to stir that up versus us poor people maybe rising up against the rich?
Here's
why.
The ultimate agenda here at play is that the fewer of us there are, the safer they are. So I don't think it's one plan. I think all of this is to reduce the threat.
Yep. And he's just a cog in the machine.
Yep.
By the way, Bill Maher's net worth $140 million as of this year.
He's got nothing now compared to just in the last 2 years. These mega billionaires have overtaken any kind of wealth Hollywood could have acquired. Like $140 million is crumbs. It won't keep you alive. It will not even keep him alive. Not enough.
Well, we're looking now at a phenomenon we've never had before, and that's the disparity of wealth is so gigantic.
It's worse
People
than it's ever been.
aren't
Never.
even upset by it.
No.
He's a trillionaire means nothing to
No,
anybody.
they don't understand what a trillion is.
No.
It's like the same as 1,000 to them.
Yeah. Millionaires you could get pissed at, but a trillionaire, that's not.
This is why they can't. That's why they can't wrap their head around these people not needing money. Everybody is so focused on that being their agenda that's going to be their demise. You know, they're going to be fine because these people eventually the bubble's going to burst. Like your bubble's going to burst, dude, and you're going to be in prison, and it's not going to be over when you die because they won't even let you die. They're going to make you live forever and work for them.
See, what the right has done is made crazy conspiracies to completely negate
the reality.
Real conspiracies.
Yes, and they are everywhere now.
So, you know, what was this, X-rays that they blame Marjorie Greene for stating the start of the forest fires?
No, it was space lasers. Jewish-owned space lasers.
It's totally wacko. And
that's a thing. That's an actual military weapon that we have on hand.
It's just the military owns them, not the Jews.
What military? Who owns?
I saw the post you put out last week about who was it? The workers went on strike. They wouldn't because they're sending their work to Israel.
Yeah. They had.
What? Who's sending their work to Israel? Oh my God! First we got to worry about China, and
we've had to worry about this.
Now it's Israel. Well, it probably has to do with military, doesn't it?
That's who's training our police is the Israeli military.
Of course. Why do you think the New York Police Department has a branch in Israel, in London, in various cities across the country?
So if you're
or
anti-Semitic,
across the world, I should say.
Anti-Semitic means you raise hell about giving them billions of dollars of military aid.
Anything you say about them is anti-Semitic. You cannot say the word Jewish or speak to a Jewish person without bowing down.
No
and
critical analysis.
Yeah,
of
you
Israel.
cannot be an atheist and talk to a Jewish person without being offensive. Like, there is nothing you can do. I've tried. Yeah, so the Amazon and Google workers were demanding that they sever ties with Israel.
Yeah. Yeah. So to Donald Trump Jr. and Bill Maher, we've got this message for you.
Don't be a douchebag.
Yeah, that's right. Different ends of the spectrum, but douchebag in common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Once again, Maher's just worried that he might end up like Johann de Witt. For those of you that don't know, that's the Dutch political figure back in 1672 who was boiled and eaten by his people.
Ah.
With a little tartar sauce.
Why waste tartar sauce on the rich?
What was the bean? Fava bean? Then okay, is that better?
Oh, God. We're starting to run a little low on time, so there's some stories that I want to put you guys on to read. You can find links to these on our official Facebook page, facebook.com/Southpaws Radio Show. The one you really need to read is published by ProPublica. They are doing an investigation into Liberty University basically violating Title IX when their students are getting sexually assaulted. And they talked to several former Liberty students and what happened there. We had mentioned a couple of weeks ago about polio and how there's still like 3 or 4 people that still use iron lungs. National Public Radio has a write-up on one person who still uses an iron lung to this day. Yep. She's having a hell of a time trying to get parts. Folks, be careful. Make sure you wear protection because there is now a flesh-eating, sexually transmitted disease on the rise in the UK. So there's that. And speaking of, we might as well get into our off-the-cuff segment. This is Billy Coben and Chris Kenning writing for the Louisville Courier-Journal. The superintendent of an eastern Kentucky school district said appropriate disciplinary action has been taken after photos surfaced showing students giving lap dances to staff as part of Hazard High School's homecoming festivity week. Oh, gosh.
Harper Valley PTA. No, the thing is, I mean, hey, we've got a lot of friction between faculty and students, and now it's being personified with a lap dance. I look on the bright side of it, right? I mean, really.
Honestly, I thought it was kind of funny. I'm somebody that is not a very strict parent. I tell my kids all the time, it's really hard to disappoint me. Like, you can get arrested. That's fine. Not a big deal.
It's so Kentucky too.
Yeah, the photos were published on the athletic department's Facebook page, and they've been taken down. Some of the male students dressed up as women and started giving lap dance to faculty, including Hazard High School principal Donald Happy Mobilini, who also happens to be the mayor of Hazard, Kentucky.
This would be
great.
on Netflix. Let's face it. This is a 5 series.
So that's what's happening down in Hazard, Kentucky. It really makes me wonder if the principal was expecting a happy ending.
Nope, not a word.
Oh.
Not this time, huh?
One more.
Oh, boy. Well, folks, we are out of time for this week. I think that's probably a good thing. We'll be back next week. I'm Darren Gibson.
I'm Katy Steele.
I'm Jack Prince.
For our announcer, Kristen Cook, please support independent media and the First Amendment.
The stations that carry Southpaws do not necessarily share the opinions expressed on the show. Southpaws is protected by the First Amendment to the U.S. Constitution and is copyrighted by Big D Entertainment. All rights reserved.